I'm thrilled with today's guest, Rahm Emanuel. I'm going to read, he's former U.S. Ambassador to Japan, former mayor of Chicago, former White House chief of staff, former congressman. You've got a lot of formers in your life, my friend. You have done a lot. You had a very, very full plate. Welcome to the show.
Well, yeah, you could
Welcome
almost
back.
argue. You could argue that my middle name is former.
How you been feeling lately?
What's that?
How you been feeling lately?
Oh, very good, real good. I mean, I feel guilty saying that because family's healthy, everybody's healthy, and then you look at the world, you feel guilty saying it, but I'm good. You?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Speaking of the world, I was reading some of your comments last night about Trump's State of the Union and how the Democrats just don't know how to play the game. They don't play the game well.
Well, look, I mean, I think in this situation, you had a bunch of the Trump staff and advisors saying, "Oh, we got what we wanted. We have our video clips." That's not how I would have done a State of the Union, but put that aside. The usually is to speak to the country about where we are and where we're going. They saw this as purely a political act, and I'm not against politics, but if that's what you wanted to do, the President of the United States gave us a lot of material. Him sitting there telling the American people, you don't get it. Groceries prices are down. Rent and housing is down. It's the greatest it's ever been. That's great material. You couldn't even produce that if you wanted to as a Democrat. And second, the structure of this election is a referendum. And it's a referendum on Donald Trump and the Republican Party, who's a bunch of enablers and a rubber stamp. And that material is tailor-made. So if you want to go play this game, game on. That's my attitude. Now, I happen to think our party is sitting there. They're thinking about it. They had a lot of different discussions. They're going to analyze it. They're going to check it with the lawyers first. My view is, look, the President of the United States, within 24 hours of that speech, decided to do what they did. They wrote it in a way to create a commercial. Great. We're going to create our own commercial, and we're going to have the president say to you, the American people, you have never had it this good, which is what he said.
It's
and that's
amazing.
exactly what we want, because this is contrary to what the White House wants to believe, or as I like to say, the president says he wants to nationalize the election. Need not worry. It's going to be nationalized around your leadership. It's
How
going to
wor-
be a nationalized election.
how worried are you about a fair and safe election? I mean, one thing about Trump, he tells you what he's going to do, and they are going to pull out every trick in
Yeah.
the book. It's kind of frightening. Give me your thoughts as we head into next November.
So I have I don't have a single mind on this. So one, look, the structure of this election is clear. One anecdote: since November 2024, Democrats have gone 13 for 13 in all statewide elections.
You know what? I haven't heard that stat. That's really. I
Okay.
obviously I know they've been cleaning up, but
13 for
that's
13
amazing.
in every
Right.
election statewide. As noted, when he gave his speech Tuesday night, Democrats won 3 specials, 2 in Pennsylvania, 1 up in Maine. In all country, of all the special elections or other type of elections, Democrats are running, on average, 14 to 17 points ahead of where Kamala Harris ran in that district in 2024. Just a fact. The next statewide is going to be April 7th, Wisconsin Supreme Court. So the structure of this election is very energized Democratic voters, independents breaking 2-1 to the Democratic side, not because they love them, but because they're angry at the Republicans. And then second, Republican turnout is down. One of the biggest declines for the president is among MAGA voters, let alone independents. So to me, the structure's there. I'd rather be us than them. I feel the momentum. Now, what worries me is 2 things. One, I've dealt with when we've had 2-1 cash advantage, or they've had 2-1 cash advantage. We've never seen a cash disadvantage like this. This is something unprecedented. So that can, as somebody who started his career working for Bill Clinton, raising money for his presidential, I get worried about a financial disadvantage. Second, they will politicize the criminal justice system to a level we have never seen. Everything from ICE to, you're going to see border control agents starting to do voter verifications and stuff like that, to the Justice Department. And in a way, the problem is the Roberts Courts has given the Trump administration carte blanche to criminalize and politicize the Justice Department. Look, I mean, there's a story today, slightly off, but not too far. The U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia, she is investigating the head of the Federal Reserve and a criminal count for his testimony. All this is about political intimidation. It has nothing to do with the law. It has nothing to do with his job as head of the Federal Reserve. So if you think that's what they're going to do just to take over the Federal Reserve, Imagine, and with the chair of the Federal Reserve, imagine what they're going to do in elections. So those are my concern side. And I want to always say this to all the elite, because the elite have failed. Corporate America, they'll tell you stuff whispering, oh, this is horrible. The Roberts Court, besides the tariff, has given this guy carte blanche. The business leaders never speak up. Thank God for the American people and the thin blue line of them. And the lower court judges, unlike the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
To me, the two heroes coming up into 2026, the American people and the lower court federal judges, without any guidance from the Supreme Court, have actually stood for the rule of law, unlike the Roberts courts.
Yeah. So you've talked, and it is a referendum on Trump, the midterms, but what is the Democratic message? Because it can't just be, look at Trump, he's an asshole, blah, 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 blah. That's the mistake they made.
I actually, two things. I slightly disagree with you, having run my fair. 80% of this election to 90 is a referendum on them.
But you still have to say, and here's what we do.
Hold on. As remember, 2026 referendum, 2028 choice. In 2006, we did a 6 in 06. I am for a 6 in 2026. I am for that. But don't kid yourself. That's what's going to do anything. Now, I do think minimum wage, top to bottom power scrub Washington with an ethics package, no investor day at the White House for your son's Bitcoin. Well, you laugh. Any judge that has an interest in front of them are not allowed to take trips or money.
Yeah.
And members of Congress can't trade stocks. Everything goes into a blind trust. I don't care how little, how much you have. Clean up the whole place. Third, a ratepayers' bill of rights. I've argued for this since September in a piece in the Wall Street Journal. Fourth, healthcare cost control element as it relates to how doctors choose hospital versus in-office care. Major driver of healthcare costs. So those are kind of my things, but Democrats have to decide. I would lay that out, but don't kid yourself. That's what this election's about. This election is about one thing, the President of the United States and his stewardship. In 1994, that was true for Bill Clinton. In 2006, that was true for George Bush. In 2010, that was true for Barack Obama. 2018, it was true for Donald Trump. And in 2026, it will be true for Donald Trump.
So what is this, as much as you could break down the message of how Trump has failed you, what's the message?
He has failed you because when he's running around the world, he's not focused on you. He told you he was going to focus on your pocketbook, and he's focused on his family's pocketbook. He told you he was going to clean the swamp. He's made it deeper and wider. He told you it was America first, and it's only about him and his Nobel Peace Prize. He has lied, not when you use the word lied, he has not kept his promise to you, and it's time to tell him, let's take care of America and American families.
I love that. And I love you keep using the word you. You really have to personalize it for the voters. It cannot be abstract. It can't. No. You can't talk about the economy. You have to talk about what can you afford.
Look, one of the things that's wrong with our party is we love to make sure the faculty lounge respects us.
Yeah.
I never could make it with a PhD. Couldn't care less. Okay? I don't care about the Aspen Institute. I don't care about Harvard. I don't care about any of those places. One of the things that Bill Clinton always said about politics, the distance between the Resolute desk and the kitchen table should be as narrow as you can make it. And the American people is what your concerns are about. And as long as they know that, they're going to stay with you. But if they think you've wandered off doing investor day for your own Bitcoin business in the White House, they think if you wandered off and your kids, Wyckoff kids and Lutnick kids are sitting there robbing and stealing from the American people, all in the name of national interest, they're going to whack you. And that's what's coming. And the president knows it, which is why he's doing all the stuff he's doing about redistricting, trying to do everything he can to rig this election, because he knows the verdict will be guilty. You're fired, Mr. President.
I love you, Tone. What's so missing for the Democratic Party, and you're about the only guy that kind of gives it in there, is what I'm going to call, and it's not a sexualized term, testosterone. Fight. Balls. No. People want that.
It's kind of unusual for a former ballet dancer to be said with all of that.
Former ballet dancer?
I had when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was a soccer player. Off season, I wanted to improve my soccer game. My mother said, "Why don't you take up ballet?" Those were the days, Danny, when Rosie Greer, remember him at the Minnesota Vikings?
Rosie Greer and the Los Angeles Rams.
He was doing ballet. So I went into the ballet class, and I looked around and I said, wait, I can sit on the bench and freeze with 12 guys, or I can be in here with 30 women by myself.
Nice call, my friend.
I don't need AI for this decision. I know how. And then I ended up with a scholarship to the Joffrey Ballet School, which
I
I
did
didn't
not know
take.
that.
But I always, Dee Dee Myers used to say that I am Alan Alda with a Uzi.
I love that. I love that. That's the campaign slogan. Hey, let's talk about service to
I actually
skills.
do think
Go ahead.
tough times require tough leaders.
Yeah.
That's going to be the issue of these next 2 years.
And we need strength. You know, Trump, one thing he exudes, and it's a false strength, but it's strength. We need strength. Let's talk about service to skills. I'm really fascinated by it's a great program. Let's get into some of the details.
Yeah. So let me pull this back. One, Mr. Farley, the head of CEO of Ford, says, I have 5,000 jobs paying 6 figures with benefits. I can't fill them, and I will never be able to. 2, the United States, for the last 10 years, has funded 2 nuclear submarines to be built every year, and we only do one in a quarter because we don't have a workforce to build it 2. Third, the head of the broadband industry just announced, I'm 150,000 electricians short. Every one of those jobs, every one of them, pays 6 figures and can give the worker the American dream. Let me tell you one story. In Michigan, when I announced this young man working in a warehouse, a little over minimum wage there, said he became an operating engineer, making $36 an hour plus healthcare and pension. Now he's gotten married, has a home, where before he could barely make rent. So my policy, you come out of the armed forces, we will give you a $10,000 signing bonus to become a carpenter, an electrician, an operating engineer, a plumber, a pipe fitter, because we are short, and we're going to invest in you because you've invested in America. That's what I believe we should do. And we would do 100,000 over 5 years, and it would all be tax-free. Because a lot of these guys, for the first kind of 10 weeks, they don't have any money. They're not yet pulling their apprentice check. And so to me, help them on housing, help them on transportation. Second, I didn't know this when I've been involved in the federal government. You know, if you come out and you take the GI Bill, you get automatically in the GI Bill, you get 36 months of housing if you go to college. If you but if you become an apprentice, 6 months and it runs out. What is this? The kid? Are we short lawyers and long carpenters and plumbers? So equalize whatever you pick to do. We're going to invest in that. You don't get extra benefits because you chose college over being a plumber or a pipe fitter. Third, and this to me is really important, everybody's telling you they're short-trained craftsmen. We have 43 separate job training facilities on the books. 43.
Incredible.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And everybody in Washington, when the Ford CEO, the head of broadband, the head of General Dynamics says, we're short workers, they give you more of the same. We just are funding now the same 43 that is not doing anything for the American people or the economy or the CEOs who are desperate for that plumber, that electrician. And every one of those jobs would get a young man or woman a home, a mortgage, and start them on the path to the American dream.
And you have a simple way to pay for this.
Simple. You close a loophole. So all these small liberal arts schools and their endowments that the president left, they pay 4%, and that goes to pay for the 10,000 bonus. Now, if it was up to me and I had a magic wand, I would not give 50,000 to these ICE agents signing bonus. I'd give 50,000 to the former Marine, the former Air Force captain, the former Navy intel officer. I wouldn't give ICE 50,000 for what you've been doing. Let's put 50,000 towards becoming a carpenter. Now that's something productive. Let's give 50,000 signing bonus to the Air Force cadet that's now going to be becoming an electrician. That's what I would do. I would but my proposal, close the loophole on the endowments for these rich liberal arts colleges and let us get carpenters and electricians and plumbers and pipe fitters and operating engineers.
Speaking of ICE, how did the Democrats effectively use. Obviously, they're very upside down on immigration. I mean, Trump did a good job closing the border. Nobody wants to see what's happening now. Even just this morning, Mandami went down yesterday, and Trump somehow agreed with him. There was a Columbia student, a woman that they actually just kind of lied their way. This is a Columbia University student. This is not one of the bad hombres, as Trump would say. And they misidentified themselves as police. I mean, this is happening in America. How do Democrats effectively use that message?
Here's the thing. As I used to say when I was mayor to myself, but also at President Obama, breaking news: American people don't like disorder; they prefer order. They didn't like the disorder of the border, and they do not like the disorder of what they saw in Minneapolis. Okay, now, number one, what do you got border agents in Minneapolis when it only borders St. Paul, Minnesota?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be on the border. This is nuts. So what I would say is, okay, we've come to a point since Ronald Reagan's last immigration bill in 1986. It's at a breaking point. I think there's a bipartisan bill called the Dignity Act. Democrats and Republicans in the House, 21-21, both. Start there because it's true to two principles that I think are the guiding lights for the American people to fix the immigration policies of this country. With absolute agreement, close the border. You break the law, you're out. That's done. One, we're a nation of immigrants. I am the son and the grandson, and you are too.
Yes.
And we're a nation of laws. And we're going to adhere to those two. So here are the laws. And if you violate the laws, there's a penalty. And we're a nation of immigrants that have actually enriched America and Americans because we are a beacon of hope. And be true to those. The Dignity Act in Congress has 21 Republicans and 21 Democrats. Start with that foundation. That is bipartisanship. And that would not only help us be true to those two principles, but more importantly, show that we can solve a problem that is bedeviling both the American families, American communities. And I think the president is making a horrible mistake by creating disorder on the street and creating distrust between the United States government and the people. And I say this for this reason. You can almost bet that something, God forbid, bad is going to happen in the future domestically. You need the trust between the federal law enforcement and local law enforcement. And what's happening in Minneapolis, Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland is breaking that trust. You need the trust between the American people and the community. And when the federal government says, okay, we have a crisis, here's what we got to do. And if you don't have that trust, which is what is being destroyed on the streets today in Minneapolis, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Portland, when that crisis does occur, and I don't want to say, but I lived through this when I worked for President Obama. I mean, it happened under 9/11 or under President Bush. Something's, God forbid, horrible is going to happen. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be terrorism. It could be anything else.
Yeah.
You don't need distrust and a unworkable relationship that you need it to be seamless. So not only is it bad immigration policy, not only is it actually turning American against American, not only is it creating disorder and not taking care of business, it's also long-term legacy is going to be a level of distrust that is going to, one day when we need it most, it won't be there.
One thing I read that you've talked about, and I feel so strongly about this, is social media making the minimum age 16 for kids to get on. Australia's gotten there.
Right.
Obviously, that's a long stretch, but talk to me about that and how that could ever possibly happen.
Well, one is not only is Australia doing it, Germany's now putting it in place, Spain's putting it in place, France is putting it in place, the UK is talking about doing it, and I think it's Norway is also doing it. So it's happening.
Yeah.
And those kids and adolescents aren't more important than the American children. I've never, in all my travels around the country, have you ever run into a parent that says, you know what my kid needs? No. More screen time.
Yeah, it's such a universe. It's a 90%er. It's like
so
exactly.
It's the leading cause of fights between children and their parents. It's addictive. It's an algorithm meant to addict you. Mm-hmm. Kids, you can target when Instagram comes online and Meta, loneliness, all these emotional and other types of issues to come. So 16 and younger, all the social media companies and big tech companies know exactly who's on it and who they are and all the data.
Yeah. By the way, it's 30% of all 13-year-olds and younger are on it.
Right.
13.
Ban it.
Right. Yeah.
Ban it. Instagram, TikTok, all of it. And when you're 17. If that's really what you have to have, they'll have it. Now, do I think, as somebody that took on big tobacco and drove our teen smoking down into the single numbers, do I think it's going to be one and done? No. This is going to require constant vigilance, like taking the telephone out of the classroom, which has improved classroom times. It's going to take constant vigilance because both kids and the tech companies will try to figure out a way around. Now, I want to say this. A month ago, Washington Post did an expose on all the documents coming out of Instagram, where they're driving to get kids hooked on it. They tell you what they're trying to do, which is exactly what the tobacco companies, a bunch of liars. When we said this is exactly what you're trying to do to addict kids, they said not true. When we finally got access to the documents, it was not only true, we undersold what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
This is what they're trying to do. They know what they're trying to do. And those social media are not trying to bring you together. Have they ever taught anybody the words to Kumbaya? Never.
Yeah. I love it. Something that's
They're
just
drug pushers.
Just changing topics for something that's hovering out there that AI is,
Right.
We all know, exponentially going to change the world. One of the AI CEOs came out, I think just yesterday, and basically said that people don't understand the concept that half of all entry-level white-collar jobs are going to be gone in 5 years. How do you, without frightening people, how do you use what's going on with AI or what's not going on with AI effectively as a messaging tool, as part of a bigger package, as part of an overall messaging strategy?
So I met with Dario from Anthropic. I met with somebody the other day, policy for OpenAI. And I want to be honest. I'm trying to race. You asked me about healthcare. Unfortunately, having done children's health insurance policy for president and ACA for president, I can go toe to toe with the best of policy people and on the politics and the policy. Education. I'm got to be honest. I am learning about AI and racing to get myself knowledgeable. I come from the view that while I hope for the best, you have to ensure against the worst. One. Two, if China cheating and getting into the WTO destroyed our manufacturing and industrial economy, AI will do that to the server side, or has the potential. Unlike every other advanced technology, internet, computer, railroad, telegraph, electricity, it is this only self-improving technology. Now, the assumption is, this will shake out. Yes, there will be a problem, but in the end of the day, it will be a net technology that creates jobs. This is the only technology of the other predecessors that does not require human intervention to improve. Go ask a software coder today. So to me, you have to have a clear theory of how we, what I call, democratize the technology. I'm not interested in 4 tech bros winning and 40 million Americans losing. So that's how we got to figure out, and then we got to navigate it without destroying it, but not letting it go unencumbered and not realize that's not a net positive. It's what we do that will make it a net positive. It's not by itself inherently a net positive. It can be, but it requires us to manage it in a way that more people are winners rather than losers. And right now, that doesn't, basically we're just doing the Wild West, which is not a theory of the case.
Yeah. What's hovering also that just doesn't go away, thank God it doesn't go away, is Epstein. Where do I can't figure out an ending to this thing. I can't figure out, the public is saying, no, we're not moving on. We're not letting it go. It's one of the most heinous stories that anybody could fathom and imagine. Where does it go? Where does it go? If I was going to say, Rahm, give me a prediction how this kind of story ends or doesn't end. What are your thoughts there?
Well, one is the story and what is the meaning of the story. So let me start with the latter. To me, the meaning of the story is it confirms for the American people a very deep, well-earned, cynical view of the elite. They had one rule book and one sense of immunity to themselves, sexually, legally, financially, and they operated in a rarefied world where they thought none of this affected them. And it confirms for the American public and the European public, this is how that global elite operates. So that story doesn't end. It only locks in a deep cynicism and it's well earned in this case. Now, I don't think it applies, unfortunately, everywhere, but a lot of people do. Second, I mean, I don't know about you, but we're doing this. 4 interviews with a woman who said something about Epstein and Donald Trump, and the FBI doesn't have the tapes. I mean, this would put the Nixon White House to shame for the 16 minutes.
Yeah. Think about how quaint what Nixon did was compared to what goes on today. It was quaint.
She just reached over and couldn't get her foot over long enough. 4 interviews with a woman by the FBI, and you can't find the tape of Donald Trump, of this woman who accused? You know her lawyer. So, to me, right behind this, just simple, you have 3 million pages. We only have 50%. You want to be behind it? Put it all out. And I do believe, I have no basis of this. This is just my gut. You didn't ask me. I think the reason on the last dump the Justice Department had the names of the women and some of the pictures was an attempt to intimidate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
These women need to move on with their lives. They need to be protected. They need to be praised for their leadership and their courage. And that was an attempt to silence them.
Hey, Rahm Emanuel, I love talking to you. I could talk to you all day. You better run for president, my friend.
I don't know if you know this. That is not the conclusion of either my wife or my kids, that they can talk to me all day.
You better run for president. We need a lot of what you got to offer, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you soon, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.